team-wide problem, you know, playing around the strengths of Zoe, unlocking her kit with, you know, either roams or support from other members.
I think Unicorns win games when Exileh is something where he can split push. So when he gets ahead, you unleash him in a side lane and he will just go ham. That's what he likes to do. Zoe doesn't do that. Zoe groups in mid with the rest of the team. You set up your waves properly, you land poke, you play a little bit more safe. That's why she's so good.
Yeah.
And doesn't really fit what Unicorns of Love wants to do. So they ban it away, as we talked about. I think a Yasuo ban is the kind of champion you want to play for your Exileh, because that's where you can go ham in the side lane.
And we saw the stats, despite not the greatest damage per minute, does pick up a few wins. Exileh and Yasuo, a long and historic history in the ULCS. Many highs and lows, much like his own career. And interestingly enough, the Aatrox banned out now on the blue side to complement the Rumble as well as the Zoe, signifying they don't want to first pick that.
Yeah, we've seen it a few times now where it's the blue side. It might be a team saying we don't get to practice as champions, always banned, you know, in our practice games, or maybe they just don't like having to first pick it because they don't feel like they have a player who can carry on the champion. There could be multiple reasons. The Taliyah one, I always think that's a great first pick just because you can move it around. You can still even put it bot lane if you want to. But obviously mid and jungle has been kind of the common ones.
And when I look through mid and jungle, no Taliyah games this split for either Kold or Exileh, nor for Totoro. So this is the first time for Unicorns Alive in the 3 key roles. What is the response? Because I know the Nocturne and the Taliyah have been sort of the top tier junglers on this patch.
So Orianna, we've seen a lot as a blind pick on red side, because you don't obviously know 100% early on if you want to take your mid lane or what the matchup is going to be, but Orianna can lane against anything. Gragas is the other one. Europe loves Gragas, man. It's like one of our most picked champions.
Always?
It's true, it's always been a good pick in Europe, but a lot of these teams have really loved this champion. Here in 8-14, we're one of the regions that picks it the most. And it's just because, again, you can put it into jungle and top lane, and even we have some support players. Like, Mickey always talks about his Gragas being insane in interviews. So there's so many different ways you can actually play this champ, but it's not being picked here.
No, going to be ignored for now. Kasing's going to have his second game on Tahm Kench. Most expected, played it once before, went 3-1-8 and won that. In response, of course, Unicorns of Love are now going to give themselves some more options. I mean, knowing there is some flexibility also with the Ryze.
And I think one of the things with the Tahm Kench here is I don't think they wanted to give over Taliyah ulti, Tahm Kench ulti, plus maybe another global against Unicorns of Love. And what Tahm Kench brings is once you get past the laning phase, he's just so good at reacting to enemy, you know, long-range roams like a Taliyah ult, because he can ult with your team to save someone. So I think Splyce wanted to try and match some of the potential global from Unicorns. The Ryze does bring a little bit more as well, so it should be Taliyah jungle, and then Ryze mid lane.
And of course that Ryze mid lane for Exileh later in the game can play on the side lane, something you talked about a little bit, gives him the tools to lean into his player strengths. Now, Neon has played an Ezreal game or 2 on stage, in fact. Currently undefeated on Ezreal. 2-0. When you think his team's only got 4 wins, it's a good start.
And 2-0 on Ezreal is not easy.
No.
He has below 50% win rate in Europe. I believe he's 0% win rate in North America as well, if you look at the last couple of games.
The champion now.
The champion, obviously Ezreal, because it is hard to carry on this.
Yes.
I feel like so many teams pick it just to leave the AD carry on the bottom side, and then they play with different lanes.
Does this give you a little bit of hope for Totoro potentially being unlocked, potentially roaming around the map? I know Pyke was something he played earlier on the split. In fact, when Unicorns beat Splyce back in week 2, it was his Pyke that was instrumental in that win.
It is true. I could definitely see him being unlocked. I could also see a world where they try to play around WhiteKnight with this. Taliyah, great at ganking. We have seen it already, the early tower dives you can pull off when people are stuck, you know, behind the turret and the wall. Ryze, able to roam as well. The one thing with the Ryze, why it scares me a little bit on Exileh sometimes, is the cooldown is so long, so it's very unforgiving. If you make a mistake with it, you don't have that ulti for a couple of minutes, and that really hurts you. And Exileh does gamble a lot. He goes for the 50-50s. He will go for the 20-80s.
I think he does indeed.
The 10-90s.
He does indeed. He takes a shot.
Oh, he definitely takes a shot.
Many times. So let's see. I mean, it is one of those things you talk about, the early game influence, the ability to use this Taliyah, use this Ryze to impact potentially WhiteKnight's lane. Obviously with the Ezreal, that is an indicator.
Right.
Gnar and Jhin comboed with Jason Ken as the bans.
One thing I noticed is both teams are really heavy on backline and fairly safe backlines as well on their side. Ezreal, you know, for Unicorns, Ryze, fairly tanky mage. Splyce on their side, Kindred plus Tahm Kench Devour. None of them can actually kind of kill each other's backline yet. So it might be one of those games of who can kill the tanks first.
Yeah.
Obviously, with the Varus, you have even more of this, where your objective is just to shoot whoever's right in front of you.
Who can kill the tanks first? Then I'm a fan
There's no tank yet.
of Kindred plus Varus when we eventually get, well, potentially tanks.
And the threat of Orianna Ball.
Yeah, there we go. So definitely some tools for Splyce at the moment, if the game plays out that way. All right, what does WhiteKnight lock in? We're obviously going to see some potential roaming support from Totoro.
Yeah.
You would hope with the Ezreal. So what would you like to see WhiteKnight play?
Yeah, it's a problem for him that he has to blind pick. Rumble is gone. Some teams will opt into an early Rumble pick if they have to go blind here. Normally, you just see a tank when you're forced into a blind pick. Like, that's the small thing about Splyce. Just take Orianna early. Mundo has been his most played and most successful pick. If we ignore maybe the one Rumble game he showed up in. Gragas, we talked about him earlier.
Yeah.
How could we forget him? Obviously, one of the champs you can grab blind.
It looks like it will be locked in as the timer runs down. Okay, so traditional tank. WhiteKnight taking Gragas. We'll see what itemization he decides to go with. There's been some shenanigans on that side.
We might just get
got
Mundo
the option
here.
to play into it.
We might just get Mundo with Taliyah, Gragas, Ryze on the side of Unicorns. Ezreal can't really kill Mundo, so you can stack heavy MR. On the side of Splyce, it is something that would fit a lot against what the enemy team has picked, unless he wants to play a carry. The Jarvan is here. We've seen Jarvan against Gragas multiple times. I was about to say, was that Tahm Kench top lane for a moment?
It's a traditional Kasing hover every game in his professional career.
But when you hover that late, does it count then?
It does indeed. Not going to be the Mundo that we were looking at. Instead, the Poppy. I quite like that option when you look at some of the mobility, from several of the champions, Gragas, Ezreal, as well as that Braum. Just going to block some of those options, at least the dashes instead.
Also, if you time it very well, when you see a Ryze ulti and they arrive and you charge up the Poppy ult, there is room to knock them right back where they came from. I think on the Splyce side, we mentioned it before, a lot of protection for the Orianna and the Varus with Tahm Kench plus Kindred. You have one of the best peeling tanks. One part you can block the dashes, second part is you can just shoot people away, which is probably the most effective way to stop someone from killing your team. So if you like Splyce combos, it's a classic Splyce. Don't need to snowball early game, Trevor. They can take their sweet time. We can go 30 minutes with no kills in this game, and Splyce would be like, this is great, guys.
Considering all of the craziness we've seen in the last few patches in competitive games, this is one of the most standard style of team comps that we've seen.
Sure.
And when you consider the stakes here for Unicorns of Love, this is one of their must-win matches.
Do or die, baby.
Cannot afford to lose more games because of the fact that there is a 0-12 team in the league, and the top of the table is running away from the Unicorns of Love. So there's your team compositions again. This is old school standard, an Exileh, man in the mid lane. More often this split than not, he has stumbled and not carried his team. Will this be another game, Deficio?
It will be another game.
Will he stumble in it?
I'm going to say no for now. Okay. He's not going to stumble in the laning phase. He's against Orianna. It's not an easy lane, but it's not a lane you die against. There is room for Unicorn to try and be proactive.
Okay.
Try and actually set up ganks with Taliyah. Kold is on the best early game jungler in the game, and he is always the player we're looking at in the early game. So this is definitely his chance to really have an impact.
Yeah.
I just want to see for him, like, ganking bot lane with an Ezreal versus Tahm Kench, that's not easy.
No.
But you do have the Braum for setup, so there is possibilities to at least force a summon and then return gank. Kasing is also running Ignite here, so he wants to be a bit aggressive. Glacial Augment, the classic, slow them down, Ignite all in with Devour. Deals more damage than you expect.
It really does. The whole kit of Tahm Kench is frustrating if he can use the whole kit, but that's the key to it.
You know what we saw in the LPL? Hail of Blades, Tahm Kench.
I read about it, but I didn't actually see the clip.
He's licking fast. He's definitely getting
It was
in
into
there.
Shen, if I recall correctly, right?
I believe so, yes.
Yeah,
Shen taunts him and just goes Devour.
Wrecked. Well, listen, we talked a little bit about Unicorns and just how much pressure they're under. 4 teleports on the map, as well as Kold with the Taliyah, got the ability to play that long range.
Right.
I like the tools in Taliyah's kit for a player like Kold, because he really helps make or break Unicorn's team play.
And this is where this feels like the kind of draft where Unicorns, on paper, they're like, this is perfect for us. We like to force fights. We can go to multiple lanes. We have Ryze ulti, Taliyah ulti, and the 4 TPs you mentioned. Like, the only counter to that is going to be the Tahm Kench on the other side and why it was picked early from Splyce. Yeah. So Unicorns feel like, okay, we got the tools here to be super, super annoying to play against, but it's hard to execute. TP is a longer cooldown. The first TP you pull off as a bot lane, if that does not reward you anything, if it's just back to bot lane, or if you go top lane and don't get something from it, suddenly it does slow down quite a bit in terms of effectiveness. But if you are good in terms of communication and setup, all these TPs can be insane. Let's see what happens early, because little boy Xerxe decided to invade the red buff here. And Xerxe is an interesting guy to talk about.
Tell me a little bit, what makes him interesting to you, of course, Deficio? Xerxe, one of the guys that was known for innovation and ironically in one of the most innovative metas that we have seen. Maybe one of the guys that's a little bit quieter. This time around, pretty good matchup, and of course, Xerxe is going to need to impact the mid lane.
Yeah, the mid lane is going to be the one where normally you have Exileh versus Nisqy, and especially Exileh on the side of Unicorns needs to get ahead. But because it's Ryze versus Orianna, there's a little bit less going on in terms of early snowball. I think more Exileh is looking to actually leave the lane. This part, though, is super interesting. Because on the Euphoria podcast, available on YouTube, SoundCloud, and iTunes with video.
Hashtag sellout.
There you go. Kasing talked about how this team, in the early game, they play so much around Xerxe and like they kind of follow him around the map and he gets to dictate the pace of it, which is one of the reasons I feel like we sometimes see a very passive Splyce. If Xerxe is more on a I'm going to farm and just focus on vision, not a whole lot is going to happen.
Yeah.
And especially in losses, it's been tough for him to impact the team, and then they just kind of fall behind and he doesn't get to do anything.
Yeah, you can see the stats on your screen right now. Differences in wins and losses is significant in terms of performance. Look at the kills plus assists at 15. That's the big one. 3.5 kills plus assists in your wins versus 0.8 in your losses.
Yeah, and the thing is, a lot of Korean teams, they play around their jungler with the laners. They try and make sure the jungler can get ahead. That's what Splyce is doing, according to Kasing on the podcast. And it's one of the reasons where when Xerxe gets a good start, first gank is successful. Maybe he finds the enemy jungler and kills him. He can suddenly just like go 10-0, and you're just like, whoa, this guy's absolutely insane. Then you don't see him for 2 games, because he focuses on farming instead. On a Kindred, you do have the option for early ganks, but it's also acceptable to farm for 6. I still kind of want to see him if there is a lane he can go towards, but I don't feel like there's a good lane to gank for him.
It's so difficult. Every single lane is some sort of tools to either get to safety or mitigate the risk. And we're approaching 5 minutes. You can see no real pressured yet. Only Nisqy shoving into Exileh in the mid.
Yeah, and I love that point, because that is what can set up Xerxe to be aggressive, not in a lane, but in the enemy jungle. When you have mid priority, you can invade, your mid laner can follow first, enemy jungle can't do a whole lot.
Yeah.
If Xerxe does find his way after his first back now, into that jungle where Kold is, Nisqy's gonna keep pushing and just have priority in this lane here. He just needs to go back and get some mana before you can really do any fighting.
Well, let's see what he decides to do. For the time being, has not left the lane yet, running down to about 10-15%, and Kold and Xerxe are just going for full clears. I mean, this is just as standard an early game as you can get. And Deficio, when we were prepping for this game, you mentioned a statement that really stuck with me, talking about Unicorns of Love, how they lack a really defined, really sort of unique strength. And when I look at this team composition, it feels like they do a whole lot of different things. You know, they can play it out in very different ways, and maybe that's a good thing, because Unicorns can lean in any direction to potentially take over this game.
Right, yeah, it's definitely a lot of pick potential. Braum, Ryze, and Taliyah especially. I think they have engaged also coming from WhiteKnight specifically. So there's a lot of things they can do, and then of course all the globals is kind of the one thing binding it together. Problem for me just especially with the Ryze pick, I think you got to be really good at playing Ryze as a team for him to be super successful at the moment. And that really requires, you know, the first roam with his ult needs to be impactful. Play to a lane where Taliyah is at, because then you can W, snare them, knock back with Taliyah, and there's very little counterplay to that. Like, that combination should guarantee you a kill. We haven't, of course, seen it yet. Exileh just got his 6 now. He will go back to base, and then let's see. Nisqy also gets to recall after he lost all his mana. Now maybe the action can start.
Yep, getting close to those level 6s across the map. WhiteKnight, Exileh. Nisqy just dinged it. Odo's a couple minions away. First item is Merc Treads for Odoamne up in the top lane. Makes sense, couple of tiers.
How exciting.
Picked up between Exileh and Neon. Whenever I see tiers for mid and bottom lane, it gives you a gigantic indication of how you expect the next few minutes to play out. Unicorns going to be content to play this one for the mid to late game. And Splyce will be very happy for that one as well. Just let it play out. Let them get a couple more items under their belts.
It is fascinating that if you used to watch Unicorns 2 years ago and a year ago, like, you tuned into every match with Unicorns expecting interesting picks.
Yep.
Bloodbaths, level 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Famous for the quote-unquote cheese. Unicorns this year with, like, Kold, especially as one of the leaders, has been way more standard in how they're trying to play. Not necessarily a lot of surprise picks on their side if you look at the entire summer split.
Yeah.
And that's something. I understand why they do it, because there's more potential to actually become a great team doing this, but it has definitely hurt them here this year that they haven't been able to surprise teams.
I mean, you have to master the fundamentals to truly make it to the top of the table. You know, really get a grip of just standard traditional gameplay, and then, in my opinion, add the nuance and the flair and the flavor.
Right.
If you only win through nuance, flair, and flavor, but don't have good fundamentals, that's when you really struggle. And UOL, we hear a lot of teams and players talking about how good they are despite their record of 4-8.
Of course, yeah. I mean, we've seen them be good at early fights. We've also seen them fail the early fights, and that's where, to the point earlier we discussed, with lacking that clear strength, I felt like in the past the clear strength for Unicorns was that innovative style. Like, you hated drafting against Unicorns because you didn't know what they were going to play. And while, yeah, you might lack some of the fundamentals, it gave them a clear identity, and it gave them something that they could use to gain an advantage over other teams. But by becoming a more standard Unicorns Olaf, I feel like they've lost that edge, and they still need to find it. They just don't have a lot of time. They have a couple of weeks.
Yeah, running out. They had a couple of weeks in spring, almost made a miracle run. One of the men that was kind of, you know, fundamental in helping define that UOL brand was, in fact, Xerxe. You know, he played a couple of picks, and he's slowed things down in 2018.
We mentioned go towards WhiteKnight. You don't really want to gank your Ezreal lane too much. Sadly for them, with Splyce going to bottom side, have everything warded, they made the call. Guys, we are not top. Odoamne, be careful.
Odo with flash available and ultimate. That's Keeper's verdict would just send anybody packing. So Unicorns hold on to the trigger for now. It concedes the dragon. Splyce will take this one uncontested. They've got significantly superior vision in the bottom quadrant of the map, and we've got ourselves a very even game. This will be the first objective going in favor of Splyce. In terms of first dragon, they've only picked it up 40% of their games up till now. And this will be increasing that percentage ever so slightly.
So, while we're waiting for the next step, part one of my quiz for you.
Oh, I hate quiz time.
Stealing the Jet stats here. You need to guess the player.
Okay.
I'm a player who's played 11 different champions during the summer split. The most for my role. Who am I? And I'm in this game.
Different champions, the most for my role.
11 different champions over all of summer.
Okay.
Don't look at your notes.
I'm trying to think of who it's going to be. My initial instinct was going to be somebody in the AD carry slot because of all the different majors. AD can play ADCs, but then I know Kobbe and Neon's not good enough games and Kobbe's boring. Totoro... No, I think it's going to be a support. And I think it's going to be Kasing. I think he's played more random champions. I've even seen a Zillion in there.
You got it. Fine, fine.
I got one. I'll take it.
He has played Rakan, Pyke, Alistar, Fiddle, Zillion, Braum, Soraka, Shen, Zoe for some reason, Gragas, and Tahm Kench. All has been in a support role at some point.
No champion more than twice, is that right?
No champ more than twice, because he's only played one Tahm Kench game. This is his second.
Do you like that? What does that tell? What do you think? Because my gut instinct is, well, he hasn't found anything that consistently works. Is that unfair?
I mean, so you can use it as a positive that you have a large champion pool as a support, but I think Kasing has always had the issue when it went away from range supports last split, he kind of didn't know what to play. He kept trying to play the range support. That to last pick for him, if you remember. Splyce always last pick for Kasing. Until Copenhagen, third place game, he played Braum all 5. That was the first time we really got to see him play melee supports, and we were kind of surprised about it. So I think having a big champ pool is good. Not 100% knowing, okay, what are the key picks for you might be a little bit of an issue. I think for Kasing, I don't think he's struggled this split with his champion picks, personally.
Okay. Well, let's see what he does this Tahm Kench. As you mentioned, second time. And a little bit of, not pressure on him necessarily yet, but later in the games, once Unicorns try to set up those plays, the Devour is so game-changing with an Orianna and Varus. Really make sure you keep them in the right place and keep them healthy.
Don't want to eat a minion.
One of them.
Never eat a minion.
No,
AD carry gets very mad at you if that happens. But one thing we mentioned, champ select, is a great point. I know
of course it was. I mean, you made it, right?
I don't know who. I say we in a cast. We are the same voice. Splyce, 30 minutes without kills, super happy.
Yes.
What's been happening this game?
No kills.
They've been chilling.
There might be one, though, because Exileh stepping way forward, maybe. Flashes away from the shockwave, but I'm not sure that was worth. Obviously, Exileh had Kold's ultimate ready to throw down, but a little too aggressive for my liking.
Well, Exileh thought he had backup because Kold was coming around the side. Did not think Xerxe was there instantly, but Splyce just kept the control wards on bottom side. No one has tried to contest them. Unicorns are just like, yeah, that's fine. You get bot side, we get top side, we just trade. Exileh's going ham.
Ooh, lots of damage coming down from those overloads. Xerxe's made his way up. Lamb's Respite's available. Kasing comes in with an Abyssal Voyage, and it looks like Chain of Corruption tags out Neon. Kobbe's going for the tower dive, but takes a couple too many tower shots, and that's teleports now coming to the bottom lane. Here comes Totoro. Flash is available if he can catch Kobbe.
The Q-Flash.
Flash tag with the Winter's Bite. Here comes Neon. Devour comes down from Kasing. Where's the rest of the support? Nobody from Unicorns can make it up. Exile, Kold, as well as a Rift Herald. They managed to drop that in the mid lane. Gets the boop on the tower, but nothing further. And as we approach 13 minutes, it is an even gold game.
And this shows that Unicorns are loved. They are fully aware that Splyce are fine playing a passive game, no fighting, just keep farming, get your items. It's Unicorns then trying to force the place. That bot lane play, that was double flash used. Kobbe just walked out of it. Let's see what happens top lane.
Realm Warp is going to deliver Exile. He's got himself a blast cone, hops forward, running low on mana. Xerxe's going to need to use that Lamb's Respite. Manages to sidestep the overload. Holds the trigger. Xerxe really understanding. The barrel even gets jumped away from, and Splyce concede nothing.
Yeah, he was sitting on 50 mana there. It cost 100 for the ulti, so he had to sidestep to actually stay alive. Exile used the ulti, tried to get the first kill of the game. Sadly for Unicorns, Splyce are playing defense, and they're successful for now.
All right, Deficio, you asked me a quiz question. I've got one for you. What time do you believe the latest first blood of the summer split has been? Nobody's going to be in trouble just yet. Give me a rough estimate.
I'm going to say 19 minutes.
A little too far. It's in fact 15 minutes and 51 seconds. Ladies and gentlemen, turn your eyes to the clock at the top of the screen. We've just hit 13 minutes, 51 seconds. 2-minute timer starts now. Will we break the record? I hope not.
What are we saying, 15 and...
15.51 is the previous record. It was Misfits taking on Schalke No Fear. Misfits were able to pick up that first blood kill.
If you ask Splyce, first blood should be in about 20 minutes time.
Also, interestingly, by the way, you talked a lot about the first Realm Warp, the first teleports, needing to get something from them. Give me an evaluation. I mean, UOL got some pressure, I suppose, but
not enough.
Worth?
No. They got one flash. That's it. Xerxe used his flash obviously much earlier here, and that's it. Like the the TP bot lane into double flash. Odoamne might get ganked now. Oh, he flashes out. So they get a second flash, but obviously this was not a global being used. But bot lane, TP from Totoro into double flash, and Kobbe walks out. Obviously not worth it for Unicorns. Realm Warp from Exile, trying to get a kill top lane. That was fine. I think you got to go for that play. The guy was out of mana. It made perfect sense. Didn't hit the Q though. Bam. Suddenly Splyce managed to stay alive again.
And look at this. 3 teleports on cooldown for Unicorns. So Splyce get a lot of damage onto this bot outer tower. They're also... I thought they were going for Dragon, but I was mistaken. They've got themselves all of the pressure to unlock this gold lead. It's 23,000 apiece, and that's how first blood is going to help a lot.
Yeah, they realize if you kill bot turret first, push it in further, then you can go for much safer Drake. They're down here with Xerxe. Nisqy's coming. Odoamne has TP as well.
All right, Totoro is trying to body block. The Unbreakable Will is up there. There's no Realm Warp for Exile. He needs to walk the entire distance. It is just a matter of moments before that tower goes down. Ladies and gentlemen, 15 minutes and 30 seconds. We will have the latest first blood of the EU LCS Summer Split this game. In 20-odd seconds, the timer will be surpassed.
It's a big problem with Unicorns a lot. One of the things that they have often found success with is the roams from their support Totoro. He can't roam if they're losing lane. That is really something that's keeping him locked often. He's trying now, but that's obviously at the cost of his bot lane turret that was already going to die.
And look at this, there's the flash shockwave. Totoro actually jumped into it. Glacial Prison comes down. Nobody's died yet. The explosive cast will disengage for Splyce for now. Chain of Corruption comes up, and Kold concedes the latest first blood of summer. WhiteKnight might just be the second, and he's gobbled up by Kasing. 2-0 to Splyce, plus tower first blood, and they're going to get some damage in the mid.
Great play from Splyce here. They know to kill the bot lane turret quickly. They know they have Tahm Kench ulti. It was early picked in the draft for this specific reason. Instantly you go from bot to mid. And Unicorns are love. They thought maybe we can trade a turret here. Top lane, a small fight.
All right, Exile takes a passive shield to the face by Odoamne's Poppy. Here comes Xerxe as well. Xerxe may not even be needed. A lot of damage comes out, and the kill will be secured by Odo. It looked like a passive stack as well there.
It did,
for Xerxe. He's up to 4 at 16 minutes. So he's already got that first bump in range, and that's a fantastic start for Splyce.
He's had free access to everything on the bottom side all game long, because Kobbe and Kasing have been winning the lane. They have full vision control down there. Like, it's been a great game suddenly for Kindred. farming in the early game, and when we get the kills, it's not towards the team with the pick composition, with the teleports.
Nope.
It's on to the other team who's happy just scaling into the late game. Unicorns finally get the mid lane turret, but man, it cost them a lot.
It really did. And talking about, you know, finding the picks, Kasing was in place twice. The first time there was a gank attempt mid, he was there to save it, and you'll see him coming up right at the end of this play.
Yeah, I like Nisqy's flash ult. It will guaranteed hit someone, or at least force Unicorns off the turret. So there's a win-win no matter what. And then Kasing just coming in from the side with Kobbe. It's a good setup from Splyce, and Unicorns are lost. They find themselves slightly behind in the play. Obviously, Neon can't follow, and you get punished very, very quickly.
All right, now, is there a response from Unicorns? They're 2,000 gold down, 3 kills, and a Mountain Drake. It looked like they were setting up some sort of dive towards the top lane, but decided against it. Back away. And instead, Unicorns are just going to try hold on to their towers. And for Splyce, I mean, this is exactly what, as a team, they wanted to do. Deficio, you've mentioned several times this game already. Splyce want to go late. They are more comfortable there. They're not the strongest early game team. And
yeah,
they're happy playing late game team fights. They're happy using the experience of all 5 players to make more informed decisions at the end.
They're also just not happy playing scrappy, fast early games. It doesn't fit their style, especially when you play around a jungler that is not always looking to invade and fight all the time, who is more on the safe side with Xerxe. So I think Splyce, whenever they get the slower early games, it just really benefits this team. Same in Spring Split. And that was kind of a comment I had last week when they beat Misfits. I was like, this is Spring Split Splyce. Defending for 15 minutes, slow early game, get towards 2 items on Kobbe, start looking for fights.
And Spring Split Misfits that didn't know how to play the late game.
Definitely also Spring Split Misfits.
Going back in time. Xerxe, for the time being, needed to use that Dance of Varus to stay alive. Throws down the Lamb's Respite. Don't know if that Q would have tagged him. And then just to run away. Looked like a redemption came down as well. I didn't quite see it. No, that was a Lamb's Respite on the final. Sorry.
Can they get something though, Trevor? Can Unicorns? Top lane turret is open. No one is there to defend yet. Take jungle route, go top side. Unicorn should be able to at least get some damage on it if they commit. Seems like they just want to recall and reset instead. At least WhiteKnight wants to reset. Exileh is on his way to try and kill it.
Well, Splyce for the time being, they're in the lead. And Deficio, we're talking about them, you know, playing for late and whatnot. But if we look at some of the upcoming matches, one of the things that's interesting to me is that they've got one of the slightly easier schedules. If you look, they've got H2K, Rocket, Giants in there, Fnatic and Schalke. Going to be one of the more difficult games, but at a 6-6 scoreline, Splyce are in control of their destiny. They can absolutely make a run for playoffs. But I just don't have this confidence or faith in them because their wins, they don't make me feel excited, you know? They don't make me feel confident in their play style.
Because they're pretty slow.
Yeah.
And sometimes they do rely a little bit on the enemy team not executing their first few plays, like Unicorns in this game. And that's obviously where you can sometimes not fully buy into it. But the fact they're 6-6 and they started 0-4.
That is huge.
Again, after Rift House, after beating Team Liquid, they took their powers. And they're now 6-2 after returning from North America. And if you saw the upcoming schedule, Unicorns all up right now. Looks like a good game from Splyce.
Yep.
H2K should be a win. Giants, at the end of the whole thing, should be a win as well. That's at least 3 more wins you're looking at. That puts you at 9 wins. Normally, that's enough to give you a playoff spot.
Normally it is. And we need to see how the rest of the results lock in. For now, though, itemization lock-ins and just continuing to scale. Deficio, 21 minutes on the clock. It's a 1,500 gold lead for Splyce. Importantly, Neon's Ezreal is doing very well. This is a guy who had the worst CSD of all AD carries or bot laners in the EU LCS, and he's gone even for now. He's got his Triforce, he's got his fully stacked Mirror Mana, and he's on a fairly safe ADC, so...
But can you carry an Ezreal?
That's the question. Does he need to carry when you've got a Taliyah and Ryze in the team as well?
I would normally say not necessarily, but your Taliyah and Ryze are not ahead in this game. They are not exactly, you know, taking over everything. Executing Taliyah in teamfights is not easy. There is a world where Neon doesn't need to do a whole lot, but I think at this point, if you pick him Ezreal, if you tell him, hey, we are okay with you potentially not doing a lot the first 20 minutes, then you better do something after 20. Like, that's the investment you made as Unicorns. You got him to 2 items, his tier is fully stacked, let's see what he can do with it. When we watch the LCK, Ezreal's carry. Watch Western regions, Ezreal hits a few Qs and runs away.
That's been very true for most regions, and you look back at the past. Deficio, give me some expectations scaling-wise now. We know UOL's like ability to pick in the mid-game. it's still potentially there. They have the tower lead. They can play the side lanes. I don't want to discount that. But as we go 5, 10, 15 minutes later, whose comp do you like more?
Well, I think if we fight right now, I'm happy with Unicorns, also because there's a Black Cleaver on Odoamne on the Poppy. He's building to try and be strong in the side lane against the Gragas, and then later buff up Xerxe and so on. But if I look at the full late game when Poppy is actually tanky, I look at Splyce's comp and I say that to me is going to be stronger in the pure 5-on-5. A lot of it obviously comes down to the fact they have a lot of backline protection and they have Nisqy on Orianna as well. But I think with Unicorns, right now, if you can actually fight within the next 5-6 minutes, I think you have so much damage and you can kill Odoamne fairly quickly with this build.
And the gold difference is not substantial enough. It's 1,300. You've got 2 items completed working towards most of the Unicorns of Love members. I mean, Kold is sitting, he's had that Runic Echoes for a little while, got the Oblivion Orb and his Sork Shoe, so he's going to be hitting pretty hard against what are mostly squishies, especially when you consider there's no tanky stats on Odoamne.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at the item difference, it's not that far apart, and it's important, like, while the gold lead is 2k, as you said, it's kind of like 300-400 gold per player, and 300-400 gold is not going to make you so much stronger than the other guy. So it is still fairly even for Unicorns. The entire early game playing with the globals and the Ryze, that backfired.
Yeah.
You still have a second chance. Don't mess up your second chance. You're not getting a third.
And of course, that was what you said in Picks and Bans, Deficio. The first realm warps, the first teleports, they need to be beneficial for UOL to accelerate the mid-game. We're very, very well into mid-game. And you can see both teams contesting Baron Vision. Maybe the next big objective. Exileh with teleports will take the 3rd tower of the game. This keeps the gold within touching distance. Now it's only 1,000. In actual fact, with all outers down, it's Unicorns that have some map control, some ability to push, because they're still sitting on their mid and top first tier, which is relatively impressive considering they were the ones that conceded those kills, etc.
I mean, again, Splyce are really not forcing anything. They're so happy just taking it easy. We are in the late game now, and obviously I mentioned earlier how Kasing on the podcast, he talked about Xerxe being the early game shot caller. Because we had a large topic between him and Nuke and myself around shot calling in pro teams. He did mention once you go to late game, it's actually Kasing and Odoamne that kind of takes over. But sometimes when they reach the late game, they can kind of forget the game plan a little bit. Yeah. It can get difficult to fully keep track of everything that's happening, and it's important for Splyce they don't suddenly give up a free objective to Unicorns, because, as we said before here, the goal lead is not big enough to necessarily surrender something like a Baron.
The thing is, it makes perfect sense for jungler to be the primary guy speaking, making some calls.
Of course,
in the early
you kind of want that in the early game.
Ideally, right? Because of the impact and the influence that they have. And it's so interesting in this game that both Xerxe and Kold are such pivotal playmakers, such pivotal players for their respective teams, and guys we've spoken about a lot this split. I'm glad we've set the scene for Splyce a little, but I want to talk a bit more about the bigger picture for UOL. They've got great vision set up in the top quadrant for Baron. You can see the impact. For a team like this, they cannot afford to lose more because their schedule has G2 and Fnatic and Vitality. And in terms of must-win matches, if they want to make it through, they have to take down Splyce, H2K, Roccat, and Vitality if they want to get close to that 8 wins challenge.
5 out of 6 games here are tough games if you're the Unicorns of Love. The Fnatic G2, we should not count as wins. Okay, so that means you have 4 games left that you have to absolutely win, and that might not even be enough for you to actually break all the way into top 6, so you need a big win somewhere against the top team as well.
Yeah.
But the key thing for Unicorns is they can still do it.
Yes.
And that is the thing. This game is not over yet. Sure, it's not the perfect start for them. One fight in the next couple of minutes, that's a Baron for Unicorns.
Is Mountain Drake worth fighting over if you're Unicorns? They're investing so much time and resources to controlling that Baron pit. Splyce have got uncontested control now, and actually the answer is going to be...
you definitely should not just give it over for free. Like, the thing I would have loved to see from Unicorns is actually Exileh being on top side. He's your strong split pusher right now. That means you can push a bit deeper top, get deep vision around Baron, and start at least threatening a potential objective that you can fight over. Them putting him in bot lane told me they're going to play for Mountain Drake, but they did not play for Mountain Drake. So him being bot side doesn't really achieve anything for them at the moment. He already killed the turret. Splyce is just happy farming.
We're playing for the late game, boys. Splyce are moving into their element. At least as far as they want to be. Chain of Corruption will lock down Totoro. Unbreakable buys a lot of time.
Could be a fight, though.
Here comes the Weaver's wall. Odoamne splits off from the rest of the side. Xerxe gonna get caught out by that explosive cast, and now Odoamne down to 1100 HP. This Black Cleaver build will not help him in a team fight, but the Lab just bites, and the command protects us. Odoamne stays alive a few seconds longer. Body slam barrel, not gonna be enough. Nobody dies, and everybody was fighting.
Oh, you see that Unicorns are left. They can definitely fight against Splyce. That could have been the big one if they just got 2 kills from that. Bam, that's a Baron for Unicorns, and suddenly they're the ones ahead in the game here. Sadly for them, it took them so long to try and kill the target. In the end, it was Odoamne, but then we talk about the protection. Kindred old Tahm Kench. Look at the start. It's Splyce starting the fight against Unicorns, but they're ready to take it because it's on to the support. So Totoro is happy just taking the damage now, and Nisqy is not here. He's running from top lane, so that's a fed mid laner gone. Unicorns can win this fight, but that is missing the last bit of damage. Could have been Xerxe earlier, could have been Odoamne right now. In the end,
unbelievable. The Devour perfect as well.
Devoured, and he stays alive. Splyce gets to continue stalling.
Deficio, it's nearly 30 minutes into the game. 900 gold separates these teams. I think Splyce have got some late game insurance in the form of the double mountains, plus the clouds, so 3 already. Ocean Drake before Elder. So there's some of that late game stacking, but you can see the gold difference. It's nigh on negligible. 600 separates Odoamne and WhiteKnight. The rest of it is even. Neither team has made a big play for Baron. And it feels like one mistake is going to cost this game. One of those team fights will just swing control for either team to completely take control.
At least for Splyce, there is some wave clear backup if you do lose the first Baron. See what happens on top side. Nisqy does a flash and cleanse.
All right, no flash for Exileh. Cleanse is already used. Flash was held onto Exileh. Gets pulled back by the shockwave. Here comes Totoro to block some damage. Exileh goes down. Splyce pick up the 4th. Seismic shove sends Splyce running. And WhiteKnight did not teleport in. Unicorns donate Exileh's life.
Yeah, they barely had any information in the enemy jungle on, okay, exactly where is the Splyce members, and then they go for that play.
Oh, look at this.
That missed.
Odo was running. Didn't manage to find anything really, though.
But that's the thing about the Ryze pick, Trevor.
Tell me.
You have to be so good as a team to execute it properly, otherwise you just end up doing so little. He ulted in without flash, not knowing... Is 5 Splyce members here?
Yep.
Is it 4? Is it 3? 2? I don't really know. Kasing's Tahm Kench has been great this game. He showed up instantly. Add more protection, but Nisqy didn't even have to flash. He just cleansed and then he ulted.
Yeah, easy walk out.
You can't do that.
And
Unicorns to love. You do not have many chances.
WhiteKnight didn't commit to teleport or bringing up or for any further follow-up.
Yeah, he couldn't have TP'd in time.
Yeah, he pushed the wave down bottom to the inner turret, and that's it. Nisqy's managed to catch it and shove it back out.
I'm also pretty sure there wasn't even a ward for him to TP on.
Right.
Because it was so forced. I'm just going back to look. The only ward he could have gone for was at the red buff. But by the time he could actually have pulled the trigger on it, Exileh was effectively too far forward and would die. So, yeah, really no chance for WhiteKnight to do anything.
Questionable calls there for Unicorns. And that gets us to the 30-minute mark with Splyce still maintaining around a 1,500 gold lead. Itemization, we're hitting the 3-item spikes for now.
They're catching him.
Exileh is caught out. Where have I seen this movie before? Exileh's going to try to buy as much time as he can. Continues to run back and just trying to farm the wave. But I mean, that'll be his 3rd death of the game. A little bit unnecessary.
Yeah.
The tower to farm, even had some vision, but just caught out by Kasing's Abyssal Voyage.
It's kind of thing, you know, we've seen the movie before and we don't really want to rewatch it.
Nope.
And it keeps being shown in TV. Like,
dude, he's got a Rotten Tomatoes score of 12% and it's just not working out. I was going to say, look at the items, by the way. 3 items across the board. Eye Edge, Blatherin King, Hurricane for Kobbe. Means he's going to be destroying this Baron with the help of 2 mountains. 3-man on Baron. Unicorn simply cannot interrupt. Arriving way too late. Kold, you've jumped right into the death pit. The Hourglass will buy some time, but Kobbe takes him down. On the back end, WhiteKnight is killed as well. Unicorns of love. They are simply caught napping. Splyce take Baron and 2 more kills.
Unicorns of love had to snowball this game here if they really wanted to try and shut down Splyce. Not only based on comms, but also just based on how the teams operate in the late game. Unicorns of love here after losing their mid laner. Dead for now 30 seconds. I think Kold is one to try and steal the Baron by jumping in. It's kind of his last chance to do something in this game here, but as you see by the time he actually ults in, the Baron is already dead. It's an easy fight for Splyce, and they played it slow. They played it controlled, early vision, focus on farming. waited and waited for Unicorns to do something and then punished them instantly. And I think the Splyce players feel like this is a pretty easy game so far.
Exactly. It's played into Splyce's hands.
Completely.
7,000 gold up. They've got Baron now as well. 20 seconds till the next dragon. It's a great position to be in if you are a Splyce fan. They're 6 and 7 right now. This is the match that gets them one step closer to that safe spot, and so crucially pushes Unicorns down, because we looked and talked a little bit earlier about those must-win matches for the Unicorns of Love. 6 games left in the split. Splyce today and Vitality, Rocket. I mean, there's a lot of difficult games, and Unicorns, unless they pull a miracle out this game, it's looking like they're going to be 4 and 9 to start the day.
I think they had the opportunities. I don't think any of the players will complain about the draft either.
Yep.
Multiple globals, a lot of roaming potential, best early game jungler for Kold. But if you can't execute on the first few plays, then suddenly Splyce will just take full control. And Kasing's Tahm Kench been very important. We mentioned earlier how he wanted to try and stop all the globals from just taking over the game. The Tahm Kench ulti has been fantastic. I think also just looking at the rest of Splyce, like as a team, they've been able to make good calls on this, and that's another mid lane turret going down.
Yeah, 5th of the game that Splyce have secured. Only the bottom inner turret remains, and Splyce have got a wave pushing towards it. You can see them even pinging, so they set their vision up, make their roam down bottom. They've got 4 dragons to play with. Elder will be up in a little bit of time, and Kobbe actually fancies an opportunity here. Takes a couple of Mystic shots, but look, has already regened his HP, and here comes Odoamne.
Yeah, leaves Odoamne again.
Yeah, but you can see the confidence that Splyce are playing with. They're daring UOL to stay. They're trying to make a forced error so that Splyce can capitalize, so that they can throw down the Chain of Corruption or some sort of initiation tool.
All right, we have a bit of time here, Trevor.
Okay, another question?
Second part of the quiz.
Nervous.
All right. I'm a player who's only won games on 2 champions. Who am I?
That doesn't narrow it down, and you get a team that's 4 and 8.
Ah, that's what makes it tricky.
Exactly. I actually don't know, but I'm going to say Exileh?
It is wrong.
Oh.
It is Nisqy.
Okay.
He's only won on Zoe and Galio.
And this will be his 3rd champion?
That's why it fits in. He might actually win on a 3rd champion with the Orianna.
How many champions has he played, though, Deficio?
He's played like 6, 7. He's lost everything on Swain. He's lost on Irelia, lost on Ryze, lost on Syndra, lost on Lucian. But he's won a lot of games on Zoe. He's got to play Zoe 8 times already.
Yep.
And then he's won the 1 game he played with Galio.
And then that explains why Zoe was the very first champion banned.
Exactly.
By the Unicorns of Love. And of course, the least Nisqy's performing is, it's actually really interesting, because Nisqy has historically not been one of those mid laners that's lived up to the EU mid storyline, you know, and EU mid level of performance. But this summer has been a breakout split. Now Odoamne has got himself some tanky stats. And look at this, that's a flash Chain of Corruption! It caught out to Exile. The Glacial Fissure will buy some time. There's not enough follow-up. Kobbe, I really commend the effort, but Splyce could not close the gap further. Neon now's going to get pinned against the wall. Arcane Shift was fairly well timed. A little bit lucky nobody was closer. Neon and the rest of UOL escape with their lives.
I don't think Odoamne got over the wall with the blast cone right there. That was definitely the second part of the engage from Kobbe. That he actually got the puppy in there. Splyce could not chase down the kill. Don't think he'll be too unhappy with it. Continue getting more items. Varus, I like the build. Get some crit in there. You get to play Rune King as your first item.
I like the fact that Varus at the moment has so many different builds. You know,
it's true.
You can sort of pick and choose. We've seen the AP style build. We've seen Rageblade style build as well. One of the more versatile picks based on enemy team composition.
Also a pick that traditionally is always really good, but undervalued by a lot of teams.
Yeah.
Because typically you kind of need to have a Varus player who's not afraid of engaging and not afraid of actually
like that
being played around. Like that flash ult. Like Varus ult is one of the easiest skill shots to miss, and everyone sees it. It's like a shockwave.
Yes.
Everyone will see it and be like, oh no, that's bad. And no one wants to be that guy.
Nobody does. This time round it hits, and unfortunately Odoamne, you know, he didn't get the blast code. Couldn't take the high skill move over the wall.
I think maybe someone hit it instead of him.
That's not cool. But I mean, I'm still going to pin it on Odo. Okay?
It's true, it's his fault.
I'm throwing on him. That's where the shade is going. I was mentioning a little bit, he's got some tanky stats now. Got that adaptive helm, got the ability to pick up that huge shield from Xerxe. as the game plays out. We've actually seen it save his life once already. Combo that with the command protect.
I have to remember, yeah, it is better on tanks, you know, than it used to be in the past. So Odoamne is on his item builds, it looks a little bit less tanky, but in action, definitely still not easy to kill. He's also poppy in the late game.
Yep.
Come on, Splyce, we're way past the early game. You can be a little bit more active on your plays. There's
so how would they win with this team composition and the 8,000 gold lead they have at 37 minutes?
I mean, right now, as long as they don't overextend for a fight, they should be winning the standard 5-on-5s. I think if you are Splyce, yeah, you just wait for Baron or Elder Drake. You have 4 Drakes on your side. Like, I know I said, come on, Splyce, you can do something, but there really is no reason for them to not just wait. It's one of the reasons Poppy works against Ryze.
Exactly.
Oh, wait, TP.
Dun, 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 dun. It's not the Pike, and there's no support yet. Realm Warp is already used by Exileh.
Okay.
A couple of wards have come down. And not the most exciting of ganks. That is not a script that would sell to Hollywood.
This is where we need Kobbe's famous line.
And you want to try to recreate it? I mean, it would be a disservice to Kobbe, right? That's not fair.
It would be. Like, we need just a button we can click, and we just hear Kobbe say.
For anybody that doesn't know what we're talking about, go do a Google search once this game ends and say, Kobbe teleport, and you'll see the special interaction.
Also, you should go
by the way, Baron's up, so Unicorns need to be very careful. 7k down. You can see they're already grouping up and trying to dissuade Splyce from getting in there.
It is true. While we wait, I just want to say also one other thing with Kobbe. Go Google Season 3 Telestrator. And you can definitely laugh. That's an old school one.
Dude, that's really old and not one you should be telling people to look at. Also, Unicorns...
It's a Telestrator segment. What's wrong with you, Trevor?
Have the quickest Baron taking team. So we've got to be a little bit careful, especially into Splyce. All right, so Elder is live. Baron is live. Multiple objectives are up. The Weaver's wall comes down from Kold. Xerxe super easy escape with the Dance of Arrows.
Imagine if Exileh still had his ulti. That was used bot lane for absolutely nothing. Right there, you could maybe have tried to catch out Xerxe, but they're missing a key ulti. Now they're missing Kold's ulti as well. They're giving up Elder Drake. They have to start Baron. Be ready to turn and fight, but these guys are going to get buffed now. They have 4 Drakes.
And Kobbe's got teleport. He can just join the team. Has he started to use it? No. Gigantic minion wave for Splyce down bottom. If Unicorns lose Baron, they could lose the game. Baron's going low. Xerxe's looking to hop over the wall. Does do so. Just buy some time. Baron is down to 1,000 HP. That's a stun for Xerxe. That's 2 kills for Splyce. Baron picked up by Neon, but at what cost? Odoamne is looking to run down Totoro and finds him. Neon's trying to escape. Mystic Shot will buy some time. Will keep some cooldowns coming. Turns it back around onto Odo, but 3-on-1. Neon's taken down. Exileh, the last man standing with Baron buff, but that was not worth.
Well, Splyce, they had the Elder Drake with 4 Drakes on their side. They were always going to win the fight here, but Unicorns had chances to try and start the fights before, but the ultis were either on cooldown or missed, and suddenly Splyce had time to do 2-man Drake into a 5-man Baron fight. Should be enough to just finish the game here.
Oh, so much time. 40-second death timer for Neon. 20 for WhiteKnight, Kold, and Totoro. Exileh, the last man standing, looking death down the barrel. Odo takes a couple of damaging shots before Kasing flashes forward to the tongue lash. The turrets are down. The Nexus is the focus. And Splyce destroy Unicorns of Love.
And just like last week, Spring Split Splyce is winning games. Slow and steady in the early game, focus on defensive vision, try and read where the enemy wants to attack you and react to that. You're not invading, you're not forcing tower dives, you have a comp that scales well, and if the enemy team fails to execute their early plays, we will get past 20 minutes. We'll get to the point where Splyce are very comfortable playing League of Legends. They did not even give a single kill to Unicorns of Love.
Not a single one. And you know what? This was the Splyce win in the Splyce style and the way they've excelled. And unfortunately for Unicorns, it is another game where their lack of that clear strength, clear single player that is consistent across all games, they had a good draft, they had a good idea, and it just faltered on execution.
We mentioned this much earlier in the game. We said, like, it looked great with 4 teleports, Taliyah ult, all that kind of stuff, but executing it is not easy. Like, it's long cooldowns. So if you're not 100% sure when you go in that you actually get a kill or 2, or maybe a turret, you end up just suddenly missing out on a key summoner for the following 3-4 minutes.
The windows of opportunity, when they are closed, the fact that you are less likely to make plays, it's more difficult to make plays, just plays into Splyce's strengths because they have several more minutes of farming, of playing it safe, of biding their time. And, you know, I mentioned towards the end of the game, how does Splyce win this game? And Deficio, you said to me, well, they're going to wait for Baron, they're going to wait for Elder, and here's a replay of that final fight. They already picked up Elder.
Yeah, so what Xerxe is doing here is he's actually buying time for the rest of the team to get in the pit and take the fight with the ult. Yeah, he's technically wasting it for the team fight itself, but by him just delaying Baron going down, there's no chance Unicorns can get in and run away. It simply is impossible. You guys have to stay for so long to finish the Baron. Kobbe even runs from Elder Drake to the Baron pit, and it was just a smart play to, again, force Unicorns to not try and run away. And obviously no way for him to really win the fight.
None whatsoever. Just a very clean performance there from Splyce to close out the game. That puts them at 7 wins, 6 losses. And that puts the Unicorns of Love in a more precarious position. At 4 and 9 now, they're going to run out of opportunities. They have to look for some big upset wins against
the likes of Fnatic. They have to beat Vitality tomorrow. They have to beat Vitality tomorrow, then they have to beat G2 or Fnatic, maybe even both.
Yeah.
To make it in. Like, I think best case for Unicorns is a tiebreaker. So what they actually need is one of the other teams in that middle of the pack to start dropping some games.
They need HCK to pick up some games against the people around the Unicorns of Love. Some upset wins from HCK.
You got to be real desperate if you're going to HCK for help.
4 and 9, they're almost there. You guys at home, jump onto Twitter. Let us know who you think the player of the game was. At LOL eSports is Twitter. The vote is there now. Xerxe, Odoamne, and Kasing. That is actually a very difficult one to vote for. I thought Kasing's Tahm Kench was very impressive, but it's a tough one. I'm not going to give you a chance to vote because after the break, it is time for our monumental clash in the race for playoffs. It's Xerxe taking on Roccat. First, though, Law is standing by with Nisqy.
Thank you, Trevor, and congratulations, Nisqy. It's your first win on red side. Now, I recall you had similar issues during Sprint Split, not winning on blue side. What happened this time during Sprint Split? Why didn't it work on red side?
I'm not sure. I mean, we just prefer blue side, I guess. I mean, things that on red side, you usually get counter picks and stuff like that, but I feel like on blue side, you can just get a lot of OPs that we like, for example, Zoe and stuff. But yeah, that's what I think.
Got it. What first win on red side and also first win on Orianna. Now, it seems like counter picks work really well for you guys, and your Zoe was taken away this time, so were you prepared for this?
Yeah, I mean, we didn't play Zoe like, I think we played maybe not even one game in scrims because we knew that they would just ban it, you know. And I just prepared other champions, and that's why I picked Orianna. That's why I picked Orianna, yeah.
Gotcha. And now, last question for you. You'll be going up against H2K tomorrow. Now, looking at the standings, you clearly have an advantage, although nobody wants to lose against the last team in the standings. So how are you feeling coming into this matchup?
I think against H2K, we just have to play clean. That's what we tried to do today, but today was a bit too slow, I guess. And tomorrow, I think we just have to play not really aggressive, I'll say, but like just show them that we're just the better team and that we should actually like win the game by playing it clean.
Yeah, and that you have what it takes. Well, congratulations nonetheless, and thank you for joining me today. We are going to take a short break, and when we come back, it's going to be Xerxe versus Roccat. Don't go anywhere.
Nobody's died yet. The explosive cast will disengage for Splyce for now. Chain of Corruption comes up and Kold could seize the latest first blood. Lens is already used. Flash was held onto Exileh. Gets pulled back by the shockwave. Here comes Totoro to block some damage. Exileh goes down. Splyce pick up the 4th. Arriving way too late. Kold, you've jumped right into the death pit. The Hourglass will buy some time, but Kobbe takes him down. They could lose the game. Baron's going low. Xerxe is looking to hop over the wall. Does do so. Just buy some time. Baron is down to 1,000 HP. That's a stun for Xerxe. That's 2 kills for Splyce. Kasing flashes forward to the tongue lash. The turrets are down. The Nexus is the focus. And Splyce destroy Unicorns of Love.